Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to a new YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, we're going to be doing our AFL 2023 Round 4 preview. So let's go ahead and hop right into things. So as per usual, we're going to be starting off with a quick little Round 3 review, which will take probably under a minute. The Dogs beat the Lions by 14 points. The Pies got over Richmond by 14 points as well. The Hawks got over North Melbourne by 19 points. Carlton defeated the Giants by 10. The Saints defeated the Bombers by 18. Adelaide defeated Port Adelaide by 31 points. The Suns defeated the Cats by 19. The D's defeated the Swans by 50. And the Dockers defeated the Eagles by 41. And if you want to go ahead and see more in-depth reviews on any of these games, please do make sure to go ahead and check out my 3-game match reviews. Alright, round 4, and we have a massive round of Easter footy coming up. Round 4 is Easter weekend, round 5 is Gather Round, round 6 is Anzac Round. So we do have 3 big rounds of footy coming up in the next 3 weeks, with some clubs having some really big games. Let's go ahead, hop right into things. Round 4 preview, Lions, Pies, Thursday night at the Gabba. I feel like this could be one of the better games of the rounds. I feel like we do have some absolute crackers this round, though. The Lions and the Pies does look to be a very good one. Brisbane, they have had, what a year they've had so far to this year. Not what we all expected. They are 0-2 on the road and 1-0 at home. So they have not won yet on the road. They've won their only game at the Gabba. And look, the Lions are one of those teams that could go undefeated this year at the Gabba. But I just feel like Collingwood have been so much more consistent. Brisbane have been so inconsistent. The Pies have been so much more consistent. They've played a consistent game style, resulting in their first 2 games scoring over 100, 125 and 135 against the Cats and the Power. And then scoring 63 in a wet game where they could have easily scored over 100 as well. So I feel like the Pies, I don't know, you could call this a little bit of an upset. I reckon they're going to win it at the Gabba. You'd think the Lions would probably win it there, but no, I'm saying the Pies. I feel like they'll just be too good, and I feel like they've put themselves forward as a premiership contender early on this year. Good Friday footy, North Melbourne versus Carlton at Marvel Stadium. And North Melbourne need a response from last week. It was a horror show versus Hawthorn at UTAS. They still rely on few players. Those names being Larkey, Davies, Uniacke, Simpkin, Cunnington, just to name a couple. Is this going to be Ben Mackay and Harry Mackay playing against each other for the first time in 7 years? Are they going to play on each other? A couple big questions in the Good Friday game. Surely they do play up against each other. Carlton on the flip side, they have been very good. They are still yet to lose. 2 wins and a draw so far. And I feel like they've looked pretty good. Last week versus Giants was not their best performance, so they did score 20 behind. So I feel like they'll respond this week and get a comfortable 39-point victory over North Melbourne. Adelaide versus Fremantle is the first Saturday game at the Adelaide Oval. And I feel like this one's probably going to be a very exciting contest. Crows, the Adelaide Oval, they are good. They definitely play their best footy there. They showed that last week, beating the Power by 31 points after they ran away late. The Dockers, they also ran away late against their rivals, the Eagles, to win by 41 points. So both these two sides are coming off some good blitzing last quarters. There are still a couple, definitely Fremantle's issue could be the forward line, but maybe after last week they did work that one out. I feel like they did have a decent amount of goal kickers last week, with a little bit of variation in them. And yeah, this is a big game for both these two clubs, because both these two sides are 1-2. The loser goes 1-3. And for both these two sides, which really should be looking at finals, and I mean for Fremantle realistically making finals, and the Crows should be giving that their rule and really finishing at least higher than 12th, I'd say. Being 1-3 start the year is not a good look for any of these two sides. I feel like the Crows get the job done by 10 in a thrilling game of footy. Richmond versus Western Bulldogs is a Saturday twilight game, the MCG. 2 big Victorian clubs battling it out, and I'm pretty excited for this contest. I feel like this one could be a good game. The Dogs have finally come back into form. Boy, they needed to do that. Their midfield was really good last week. Their forward line was good enough, and their defence held up really well as well. Even though you could say Brisbane's forward line may have a couple little issues at the moment. Not quite sure about their forward line at the moment, but anyway, though, the Dogs looked good, especially out of the midfield. That's where the damage was done last week, was out of the midfield. Jamara looked lively, kicking 5 goals. Richmond, their forwards have been alright this year. I feel like it's going to be a really exciting battle. I've said the Tigers by 22 just because it's the MCG. If it was a Marvel, probably would have thought about the Dogs, but nah. Tipping the Tigers. So Saturday night at Marvel is the Saints and the Suns. This is the perfect chance for the Saints to go 4-0 to start 2023 against the Gold Coast Suns, who, keep in mind, did defeat Geelong last week at Heritage Bank Stadium. Do keep that in mind. They played really good footy last week, did the Suns, and yeah, I feel like they could really get close to the Saints this week. I feel like they'll give the Saints a good run for their money. The Saints, their injury list is increasing. Bit of a problem for them has been their injuries, but they've still, with an undermanned side, managed to go 3-0, and I feel like they will win against the Suns. I feel like the Suns will give it up to them, but I feel like they'll win by 17 points. Swans versus Port is the second Saturday night game of the SCG. Probably the more non-appealing matchup, I believe, out of these. So I feel like Saints Suns will be better than the Swans Port. However, though, the Swans, they didn't look their normal selves. They got absolutely smashed by the Demons last week. And Port Adelaide, in the end, after competing for 3 quarters, got smashed. Well, not smashed, but got a bit of a decent loss put on them against the Crows. The Swans, Port Adelaide's defence line is quite small. They don't really have any real tool timber back there. And they showed that late against the Crows, being very vulnerable in that defence line. And the Crows managed to pound goals on them later on in the game. And for the Swans, I feel like, especially like Buddy and Logan McDonald, who will probably tool the plays, and even Amadi if he ends up playing, I reckon they could be in for a pretty decent night. Another 39-point win. I feel like the Swans will win this one pretty comfortably. Yeah, I don't think Port will be much of a chance in this game. So now we head to Easter footy, 2 games on Easter Day, and that is going to be Essendon versus Giants, the first one at Marvel. Actually not a bad matchup, and is this the game where the Giants get the unthought upset victory? I feel like they could definitely do it. Last week versus the Blues, they were okay. They missed chances as well. Toby Green got absolutely clamped, and it looked like if Toby Green doesn't have much of an impact, the Giants can be a little bit deflating this year. They didn't really have much, but they didn't really have a lot of presence in the forward line. But yeah, with no Toby Green, they did look a little bit disappointing. He might go into the midfield this week, but yeah, if they do shut down Toby Green, the Bombers should be able to get a pretty decent win here by, I don't know, maybe 30 points. I feel like Toby Green will have a decent game, and I feel like the Bombers will win this game by just 15 points. I think it'll be a close game. I think the Giants will hold in there for a long time, just like they did last week versus Carlton. But yeah, I think they'll lose another reasonably close game. I think the Bombers will win this one by 15 points. Eagles versus Demons is the last game on Easter. And look, the Eagles last week versus the Dockers, I'm not going to say they were bad, because they actually weren't bad. They were actually okay. I thought they actually played a decent game of footy last week. They let it slip late, and yeah, when you're down by 8 points at 3-quarter time, you lose by 41. They did have a bad last quarter. They did come within 2, but from there, they just absolutely lost everything. So definitely disappointing from the Eagles that last quarter. But their first 3 quarters, I thought they held in really well. And I actually thought they played okay footy. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to win, because I don't think they will win this game. I feel like the D's will win, especially after what they did to the Swans. But the Eagles, if they can at least show they might be able to hold in here for a half or so, their season, yes, they're not going to make finals, but their season might look like they might not finish wooden spoons. So I feel like, again, improvement signs this week from West Coast would be a big win for them. I feel like these will smash them by 45, though. And yeah, I feel like West Coast will have a poor game. Easter Monday footy, we love it. And this year, it's not the kind of matchup that you would imagine. Geelong versus Hawthorn at the MCG, which obviously you'd imagine that. Geelong 0-3 to start the year. Interesting stuff. They've lost to the Pies, the Blues, and the Suns. The Hawks won last week versus North Melbourne. They looked alright. Tyler Brockman looked lively in the forward line, kicking 3 goals. They didn't really have any tool timber down there. And then, yeah, their young list is exciting. It is definitely exciting. And I don't know whether it's going to take in places right now, but I feel like when this does develop, which might be 4, 5 years down the track, or maybe even only 3, but yeah, more like 4 or 5 years down the track, I feel like they will look really good, the Hawks. And might have a good list should everyone stick around. However, yeah, I feel like the Cats will just be too strong and they'll win this game very comfortably. We know the class the Cats have on their list. Last week couldn't get it done. lost to two very good opponents the weeks before. They can't lose this one. They can't lose this. They go on for their season's in all sorts of trouble because they'd lose to the Hawks. So I'm saying it right now. The Cats lose this and their season is in all sorts of trouble. 0-4 after winning a flag last year, and you only really went and blasted your lists. 0-4 is not a good look to start the year, especially losing to the Hawks. That's not a great sign. And if the Hawks get the upset, credit to them, because it'd be a very, very good one if they were to get the job done. Alright, if you want to pause it or slow it down, but I am going to go through the ladder. Not going to talk about it, but here is the ladder after round 3. And here's my predicted ladder after round 4. And do take note that the Saints and the Pies are my undefeated teams. And yes, with the Cats, I do see them winning. Then that means every team would have actually tasted a win so far. Thank you guys. It was so much watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Send you guys never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys. It was so much. Bye everyone. Flaming Footy out.